Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, and very warm welcome to this meeting of the Integration Joint Board on the 1st of July 2026. Please note this is a hybrid meeting with some members and officers attending from the Council Chamber at Woodhill House in Aberdeen and some virtually. The meeting is being live streamed and a recording will be available online for public viewing after this meeting. Can all virtual attendees please activate your cameras for the duration of the meeting where possible? If members wish to speak on any point, please notify me by using the raise hand function, or if you're unable to do so, please state your name and request to speak, and I'll bring you in at the appropriate time. Please do not use the chat facility in the meeting. If any members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please take action to rejoin yourselves. Failing that, alert the committee officer by a separate chat message if possible. And if you do have any technical issues, support is available from an IT officer during the meeting. I will indicate and have scheduled a break during proceedings if required, and we'll do that as we work through the agenda, and we'll see where we get to. So thank you for that, and can I ask, please, Harriet, if you can take Sedrant via roll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from Dr. Blake and Janine Howie this morning. I will just run through the voting members, and if you can please let me know if you're here. Councillor Starling?
Present.
Dr. Tomlinson?
Present.
Dr. Backwell?
Present.
Councillor Cassie?
Present.
Joyce Duncan?
Present.
Councillor Grant?
Present.
Councillor Keating?
Present.
Councillor Lang?
Present.
Stephen Lindsay?
Good morning. Present.
Professor Palanjothi?
Present.
Thank you. I'll just move to the non-voting members. Lee Jolly?
Present.
Sue Kinsey?
Present.
Inez Kirk?
Good morning.
Keith Grant?
Present.
June Bernard?
Good morning, present.
Dr. Fryer? I'll come back. Angie Much?
President, could I please give my apologies? I need to leave at 12 to go to work.
Thank you, Angie. Fiona Alderson?
Present.
Victoria Brown? Victoria Brown? I'll come back. Carolyn Wood?
Present.
And Gillian Milne?
Present.
Thank you. I'll just go back. Dr. Fryer, are you in the meeting? No. And Victoria Brown? No. Chair, that's everyone.
Thank you very much indeed. Colleagues, can I ask, please, if anyone has any declarations of interest or transparency statements to make, please? If you can raise your hand, I'll bring you in. I don't see any indications, so there are no declarations to record. Thank you very much for that. Item 2A in our agenda is the Public Sector Equality Duty, and I would ask that you consider and adopt the duty in line with the Joint Board's legal duty under Section 149 of the Equality Act 2010. And I would ask you to agree to eliminate discrimination, harassment and victimisation, to advance equality of opportunity between those who share a protected characteristic and those who do not share it, and foster good relations between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it. And where an integrated impact assessment is provided, to take its contents into consideration when reaching a decision. Can we agree that, please?
Agreed.
It's agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Item 2B, exempt information, and for the reasons given, it is my intention to take item 14 in private with the public and press excluded. If you don't agree, please put your hand up and I'll bring you in. And that's been agreed. Thank you very much. That takes us then to item 3 in the agenda, which is the minute of the meeting of the Integration Joint Board of 27th of May 2026. In the first instance, can we agree that that is a correct record of the minute of the meeting, please?
Agreed.
That's agreed. So those minutes are approved. Do members have any issues they wish to raise? No indications. So those minutes are approved. So thank you very much. That takes us then to item 4 on the agenda, which is the Chief Officer's, no, I beg your pardon, it's the Joint Board Action Log, and that is on pages 16 and 17 of your pack. And again, a number of items on the log, but I would like to thank officers for completing some of the other items that we've considered in recent times. Mrs. Jolly, would you like to take us through the action log, please? Thank you.
Yes, good morning and thank you very much, Chair. So the action log in front of you is on track. We have a number of items on the agenda today, including the paper regarding the recovery plan, paper regarding how we become a public health organisation, and an update in relation to Inch Hospital. All the other items are on track to come back on the dates outlined in the log. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we have any questions on the log, please? Councillor Keating. David, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Anne, it's a really small one, Lee, but on the membership updates and appointments, at the end of the first paragraph, the words business services appear. And I'm not sure if there's just extraneous words that got left behind from somewhere, or if there's a sentence missing. And that's the only question.
I think it's an error, Councillor Keating. Lauren, can you advise, please?
Yes, it certainly looks as though that shouldn't be there. So yeah, we can take that out.
So can we make that amendment, please, for the minute, if officers can just confirm to Harriet what the actual sentence should be. Thank you very much. So with that, Councillor Grant, please, Murray.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It was just a question regarding the Grampian vaccination and immunisation annual report, and it mentions opportunities to bring it within IJB oversight. It was just a question about the current situation. Is it wholly managed within NHSG under the IJB? Or what's the current situation that you're looking to change from?
Are you on the action log,
Yes.
Councillor Grant?
Oh,
I think you're...
No, I'm on item 4. My apologies. Skipping ahead, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. We'll come back to you. Okay, thank you. So with that, can we note the action log, please, and note the activity? And again, thank you to officers for ensuring that these are moving to completion. Thank you very much. Sorry, okay?
Apologies, it is in the action.
It is, okay.
Yes, it was the last item.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back then. Thank you. Do you want to come in, Murray?
Yes, it was just regarding the current situation regarding oversight of the vaccination and immunisation programme, given it mentions looking to explore opportunities to bring it within IJB oversight. Is it currently just run within NHS Grampian?
Can I bring Rachel Taylor in, Partnership Manager, please? Thank you, Rachel.
Yes, thank you for your question, Councillor Grant. And this was on the back of the annual report coming here from the Grampian Vaccination Board. We do have tight oversight in Aberdeenshire. We have a primary care improvement plan programme board that oversees vaccinations. It's just in terms of taking an annual report for Aberdeenshire that hasn't come to IJB in the past, and that was a question posed to ourselves at a previous IJB for consideration.
That's great. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it just came out of the conversation at the last meeting, Murray. Yeah, that's why it's there. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So that is noted. That does move us then to item 5, which starts on page 18 of your pack. Item 5 is the Chief Officer's Report. I will advise colleagues at this point that we have one request to speak on this item, which relates to the update on Inch War Memorial Hospital, the engagement update. And we have Mr. Frank Musgrave representing Benihee Community Council, and he is supported today by Mrs. Sheena Launchy, Chair of Benihee Community Council, and have agreed that the content of the request is competent and relevant and in terms of its remit, and it can be taken as a request to speak. So can I ask, please, members, do you wish to hear from Mr. Musgrave?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much. So at the appropriate time, will ask you to speak, but I would just wonder if Mr. Musgrave and Mrs. Launchy would like to come down now and sit at the front so that you're facing people when you're speaking. I'll just give you a moment to join us and then we'll progress. We'll just give you a moment to settle in. I will ask the Chief Officer to introduce the paper first, but very warm welcome to you both. And I think it's Mr. Musgrave that will be speaking, but we will come back to you. In the first instance, I would like to invite Mrs. Jolly, please, to speak to the Chief Officer's report, and we'll just go through the sections other than the inch section, if you wish to take a pause and then regroup. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. So, yeah, I'll just focus on the first two items around the Chief Officer's report, and then, as the Chair indicates, pause for any questions prior to going on to the update in relation to Inch. So, the first item in the Chief Officer's report pertains to the Health and Care Staffing Act Annual Reporting Commission, and it's here to provide assurance that we have embedded the requirements of the Health and Care Staffing Act within how we commission and monitor third-party services. Providers are required to evidence safe staffing and adherence to the Act's principles, and we're actively monitoring key risks, including recruitment and retention challenges, agency reliance, financial pressures, and placement availability through our established contract and governance arrangements. The key message in bringing this here for the board is that compliance arrangements are in place and operating as intended. However, given the ongoing workforce and market pressures, continued oversight is absolutely essential by us as a health and social care partnership. As in previous years, this is a statutory return jointly developed with Children's Services and our commissioning and procurement colleagues. Members should note that some services referenced sit out with Health and Social Care Partnership governments, but assurance has been provided that they are applying the same compliant processes, and the report is attached as an appendix to the end of the Chief Officer's report. The other items that I would wish to just draw your attention to relate to Carers Week, and the key message for highlighting this in the Chief Officer's report really is that for us, Carers Week is much more than just awareness raising. The activity delivered within our commissioned carer support service and wider partners has helped make unpaid carers more visible, supported people to recognise themselves as carers, and promoted the rights and support that's available to those in that caring capacity. It also reinforces our wider focus on prevention, early intervention, and carer-friendly communities. And the final item prior to Inch in the Chief Officer's report relates to the mental health bed base and Tier 4 review. The important point is that the work has now moved from reviewing our situation and our context in our bed base through into implementation. Although it started as a bed-based review, it has rightly been taken forward as a whole system improvement programme, recognising that sustainable change depends on urgent care, inpatient services, rehabilitation, older adult mental health, community support, social care, housing, and third sector partners working together. So the assurance for the board is that clear priorities have been identified and programme leadership is in place to drive this forward. The key risk for us remains is delivery capacity and maintaining pace while services remain under significant operational pressure. This means that we need to continue to focus on governance, delivery grip and risk management as implementation progresses. I'll pause there. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Any questions, colleagues, on those items? Councillor Keating. David, please.
It was a sticky hand, but yes, I do have a question anyway, so I suppose I could just leave them up. There's normally one. It is the mental health beds, Lee. and you kind of talked to it there, but I guess when I read the paper, the section, twice it says capacity to sustain pace, insufficient capacity, leadership focus. There's a real concern here. I'm reading as, have we got enough management bandwidth to progress this as it might be desired? And is this one of these things where we as an IJB need to perhaps support you by saying, actually, we'd like you to continue to deliver the generics of our budget and all the things you've been doing over the last year, and this takes the precedence of whatever bandwidth you've got left? I think that's my first point. But the second one, it lists a whole bunch of people who are not the IJB or the NHS who will be contributing to this, and yet when it's moving forward to implementation, it's NHS and the IJBs. So where are the third sector? Where is everybody else in this process? So those are the two questions. One, can you do it and keep all the other plates spinning? And I know you kind of said you've got grip and focus and all those good words, but can you? Or how big is the risk? I suppose you described it as a risk, and how big is it? And then secondly, where's everybody else in this process? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think we've been as honest as we can be in terms of the capacity issue. There's definitely a huge amount of improvement work that sits across the whole of Grampian in terms of inpatient and community work, and there is a concern about senior leadership capacity to progress all the work that's required. What I would note, however, is that we do not in health and social care lead every aspect of this. It sits rightly across the entire system, so colleagues in different parts of the system will lead on particular programs. I think ultimately there is no choice but to do this because of the pressures that we are experiencing in terms of inpatient beds, the delay that causes of people being in hospital longer than they're required to be, and we need to be able to improve the flow in and the flow out, and that early intervention and prevention to support people not having to have a hospital experience as a result of the challenges they are experiencing. So we have to do this. I think with the capacity issues, what we're seeing is the pace may not be as fast as we would like it to be, and therefore across that entire programme activity, we need to prioritise the areas that require the most urgent attention and then work towards those that still need to be done but not at the same pace. So trying to take a really pragmatic approach around an important issue. I don't think it would be helpful for the IJB to say stop doing this and just focus on that, because if we only focus on the financial and the strategy elements of the IJB and we don't take into consideration this wider bed-based review, we will store problems up for ourselves later on down the line when we discover that our hospital beds are blocked and we're unable to support people in the community as well. So it's about pace, it's about pragmatism, and it's about sharing that leadership. In relation to your second question around the wide range of stakeholders, phase one, so we're now in phase two, phase one involved a significant amount of engagement work with all stakeholders, which included our third sector and private sector partners. Phase two is about implementing some of those changes, and the priority at the moment are those changes that sit within the NHS and partnerships so that we can ensure that we have that flow upstream and downstream throughout the system. So that's why the parameters are set at this point. There are a number of other phases that we will need to undertake, and at each stage we will need to stop, consider who's involved, who needs to be involved, and how we move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, and this is undoubtedly a good thing, and I hope nobody's hearing me as saying other than this is a good thing. There's always choices, Lee. But I hear you though. Your choice is, because of the risks you see from not doing it, that we progress, and maybe it's not at the speed we'd like. And all I was inquiring was if you needed any support from the IJB. But and I'm not trying to split hairs, but we've got the whole thing, and I know you spin so many plates, and you're making choices all the time. So, but that's fine. Your choice is to carry on with this. I support you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Backwell, Colette, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Anne. Lee, you've answered many of the questions I was going to ask. I think that it's been covered. The risk side of it has been adequately covered. I guess I'm curious about the sentence in the first part of the paragraph labelled next steps, which talks about further updates will be brought through the appropriate governance routes. As you highlight, this really is an important area that needs a partnership approach and needs a sharp focus on it. What are the appropriate governance routes, and is the intention to bring a further report back to the IJB at some point?
Yes, thank you very much. So currently the governance routes that we are taking would be through the cross-system group that sits across Grampian and includes our acute partners in the NHS and the 3 health and social care partnerships, professional clinical leads as well as operational leads. That's likely then to report through to the Mental Health and Learning Disability Board, which sits above that cross-system group. And then any specific changes that we need to bring in terms of how we deliver services that would have an IJB role in or locus around, we will bring back here for any decisions that are required. But I think it's also important that the IJB is kept up to date with the work that we are undertaking, and therefore we will either bring something back with decisions to be made, or we will bring something back that describes the work and the update for consideration and comment to the IJB, depending on where we get to, and it's too early to tell what that might look like at this point.
Colette, would you like to come back?
No, just thank you, Lou. That's reassuring. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I don't see any other indications. Can I just ask for any more questions or comments at this point? I don't see anything. I just wonder, and I don't want to add work to the load that you already have, but I just wonder if it's worthwhile trying to get a presentation, albeit in a development session, around this particular topic, the Grampian Mental Health Bed Base and the Tier 4 review, because there are risks, and this board is accepting currently those risks. So I do think that we have to be mindful of that the officers are carrying huge risks, but actually this board, if we note the update today, we are saying we are accepting the risk as well. So I do think we need to be mindful of that. And I just wonder, given some of the detail and some of the questions, if it's worthwhile having a multi-agency presentation, discussion as part of a development session at some point, so that we all understand just exactly who is involved and where the risks sit and what outcomes might be sought. So as well as under the purpose in page 19, we've got services listed: mental health, social care, housing, community-based support pathways, but there's also prison health based services, there's Police Scotland, and there's criminal justice social work. So I do think that there's maybe a wider a cohort of folks that might contribute, and as well as the third sector, of course, that David mentioned. There's a wider cohort perhaps that could feed into that presentation, and it doesn't all sit with you and the team, because it is multi-agency and it's not just your issue. So would members be minded to follow that through? I know I don't want to additional burden, but I think if it's a multi-agency approach, it should be, the spread should be across the partners. But I think we need to get our heads around where this sits, where it's going, and what the potential is for community-based services going forward. So I just think we need to examine that a bit further, if that's okay. So, autumn time or whenever you think is the appropriate time would be scheduled into a development session. But in the meantime, are we content to note the update, accept the risk with the officers, because it is for us to, I think, to be mindful of that too. And are you assured is the other question. So I take it that maybe there's not sufficient assurance, but perhaps the presentation will give you that. But I think that's where we are. But thank you for the update, and thanks everyone who are contributing to that. And again, mindful when Mrs. Jolly was speaking about the layers of the onion that require to be peeled before we get back to the IGB. We have a cross-system group, a board, and then wherever else that ends up. And I really make the plea most times we're here or in any other conversation that we really seriously look at the structure that we are asking officers to manage and to be represented on in terms of that capacity. Because every time we're in discussion, we hear of another board or group. And I think there's a limit as to what is potentially possible. So I do think that we need to be mindful of that and ask those who are working across the whole system to have a serious look at the structures that we're asking people to support. Okay, with that, right, thank you for that. We are moving on now to the Inchworm Memorial Hospital engagement update. I'm going to ask the Chief Officer if you will just speak to the item within your report, and then I'll invite Mr. Musgrave to take the microphone. Lee, thank you.
Again, thank you very much. So the final item in the Chief Officer's reports relates to Inchworm Memorial Hospital. This has been sitting on the action log with an ask from the IJB to bring back either an update or a report to this IJB today on the 1st of July. So what I'm setting out in the Chief Officer's report here is essentially where we are in the process. But firstly, what I want to do is to recognise really from the outset that this is a highly sensitive and important issue to those living locally in Inch, and that the members of the community have expressed for some time now clear concern about the future of the building and associated services. It's important to be clear that the IJB, in considering the Inch context, has not made any final decisions. Officers are undertaking engagement with the Inch community so that members can consider the feedback alongside an updated integrated impact assessment when the report returns to the IJB in September with that information. The key assurance from me for the board is that the engagement is being taken forward in line with national guidance and with input from Health Improvement Scotland. A range of methods is being used to support participation, including Engage Aberdeenshire, paper surveys, telephone completion, local drop-off points, posters, frequently asked questions, and opportunities for further engagement are being explored as and when required. So far, 270 people have completed the online survey, not including those who have filled a paper copy and yet to return them. And our social media reach for posts promoting the survey has been around 63,000 so far. So what a wide reach in terms of raising raising awareness of the engagement and raising awareness of the survey that we're really keen for people to engage in and complete. We have had ongoing discussion and consultation with the community, and following feedback from the Benahee Community Council, we have updated the final question on the survey, which doesn't materially alter the information that we are collecting, but we've applied some new wording. So essentially the survey asked, do you have any other comments or views which you would like to share with us to support decision making? And we've added in an additional bracket that says any impacts that the temporary closure / mothballing of the inpatient beds may have had over the last 6 years, because this was something that was felt not to be clear in the survey. So we've responded to the feedback in live time, added that in. To be fair, having looked at the survey responses thus far, and I've given the 270 that we have already received, most people had already responded, giving us those views on that aspect prior to us actually adjusting the wording. But we've added that in because we want to be open, honest, transparent, and really clear in terms of the information that we are seeking and the information that we welcome to help us inform the integrated impact assessment and the report that will come back, sharing all of that information with the IJB in September. So in terms of next steps, engagement remains open until the 31st of July. Feedback will be used, as I've said, to update the current integrated impact assessment, and a report will return to the IJB on the 2nd of September to support an informed decision going forward. So in summary, brought this to the board's attention to note the progress with engagement, to note again the sensitivity and of the issue for the local community, and the clear route back to the IJB for consideration and decision making in September. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Lee, for that update. Mr. Musgrave, I'm now going to turn to yourself, and I can let you know that you have up to 10 minutes to speak. Our committee officer, Harriet, will let you know when there's 1 minute remaining. And after you've spoken, are you okay if members have any questions that they can put to you based on what you've said? Okay, thank you. So then you'll be asked to go back to your seats. You're entitled then to remain in the meeting, but your participation in any further items will conclude after you've spoken or after you've answered any questions. So can I just thank you once again for coming along today to talk to us, and we'll just hand over to you now to start when you're ready, and if you just pop your microphone on, then that'll be grand. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As you said, I'm Frank Musgrave. I'm a resident of Oyen and a member of Benahee Community Council. I've been the Community Council lead on Inch Hospital since 2020, and I'd previously participated in every Inch Hospital meeting. But unfortunately, I had to miss the 2 Inch project meetings. But Mrs. Lanchet did attend Inch project meetings. Since the hospital was temporarily closed at the start of COVID in 2020 and the Strategic Needs Assessment in 2022, Benahee Community Council and the Friends of Inch Hospital have participated constructively in all engagements, consultations and discussions concerning Inch War Memorial Hospital, and have consistently tried to communicate ideas about developing local NHS and social care community services. Both organisations have now been out publicising this engagement and encouraging local residents to participate. We've had some hiccups along the way. The Chief Officer acknowledged in the IJB meeting last year that there were some difficulties with the June 22 IJB paper that didn't follow due process. But despite those kind of hiccups, we've soldiered on and tried to continue constructive arrangements. Constructive engagement. We've recently had helpful correspondence with Lee Jolie on this engagement. We had offered to review and comment on the engagement material. Unfortunately, our offer was declined. We did subsequently identify some issues with the information on the Aberdeenshire Engage website. Some of the information relating to bed numbers was misleading, and the background information had no questions relating to the hospital or no mention of inpatient beds. And the survey questions referred only to future impacts, whereas actual harm, that is historical harm to individuals, will be required for evidence-based decision-making. But as Lee said, she acknowledged our concerns and modified some aspects of the information on the website. But that does effectively mean that since the consultation questionnaire has been modified, the consultation's now only about a month, and it's over the school holiday period when many families will be away from home. And in the material, no alternatives to disposal of the building have been offered, which we think would be a normal part of an engagement. The Friends of Inch Hospital make an enormous contribution to the health and well-being in the community. In addition to activities such as dementia daycare, tea dances, and cycling without age trishaws, and supporting local organisations, over the years, the Friends have also been extremely successful at fundraising. They have substantial funds and offered to build a new hospital to meet all modern standards, which NHS Grampian declined. We're unclear why the Chief Officer's paper says that the Inch Hospital Project Group was unable to reach agreement. The July last year, IJB requested the Inch Hospital Project produce a full report in December 2025. Unfortunately, the partnership didn't organise the first meeting until December. The partnership appointed a chair, an independent chair, but there were no terms of reference, which may have led to some lack of direction. Only 2 meetings were held. However, community representatives were still constructively engaged. So as the partnership set the process and ran the meetings, it's evident that any lack of progress in those meetings should have been manageable by the independent chair and doesn't reflect lack of wish to participate by the community. And in the consultation, I think in the Chief Officer's report appendix, there's reference to ensuring that everyone feels safe in the process. It's unclear why they wouldn't feel safe in an Inch project meeting or in a public-facing consultation. Ben Heer Community Council offered to arrange a public-facing consultation with an independent chair, such as the local minister. And from our view, that was the wrong way around. The real pressures come on elderly or vulnerable residents who may have to try in all weathers to visit a spouse in a remote community hospital such as Stonehaven, or who are trying to care for a partner at home with inadequate support. The impact of closing Inch Hospital will be much deeper than is evident from the community survey, with the loss, for example, of the palliative care suite, the minor injury unit, blood transfusions, chemo, osteoporosis infusions and stoma care. This represents a change in the supply of health services for which there's been no consultation. And the loss of beds is compounded by the closure in recent years of care homes in Huntly and Old Meldrum. Ben Heer Community Council area and adjacent areas, which also use Inch Hospital, are rural areas with an elderly demographic and have poor or no public transport.
Mr. Musgrave, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have the terms of the justification for your request to speak here in front of me, and I think perhaps you're straying into detail, which will come through when we receive a further report on the IIAs. So really, I think this is about a focus on the engagement process and how the local groups have contributed constructively to that.
Thank you,
so
Councillor.
I would just ask you to perhaps focus on the role that you've played within the engagement process without maybe going into any detail that may come through the IIAs, if that's okay. Sorry to interrupt
Apologies, Councillor. We did, Chair, we did spend time trying to make sure we were complying with the rules. So apologies for that. I didn't come here.
You don't need to apologise at all. It's just to keep us all on track and what's relevant to the paper in front of us. But thank you.
The principal role of a community council is to represent the views of residents. And in our case, our view is informed by the extensive feedback which we canvassed during the 2022 Strategic Needs Assessment. The community priorities are: number 1, to maintain a vibrant GP service in Inch, and number 2, adequate access to local inpatient beds, and number 3, when people need care at home, they can be treated with dignity. And I think that's entirely consistent with the partnership intentions. We also had a huge response to the survey that informed our community action plans when we had nearly 1,000 survey responses from a population of some 6,500 people. In free-form comments, 85% put health and well-being as their top priority, with inpatient beds the key issue. Overwhelmingly, our residents have no confidence in the Health and Social Care Partnership to deliver a fair consultation and think Inch has been treated differently.
I'm sorry. You're really straying into territory, Mr. Musgrave, that's not relevant to what you had submitted and to what's in front of us. And I really would not accept criticism of officers at this point. Thank you.
Apologies again, Chair. the community think that there are the NHS Grampian strategy and the Aberdeenshire Community Hospital Review include no community hospital beds in Inch, so residents think the Inch Hospital project was a done deal before it started. And from prior experience, the community has little confidence that the involvement of Health Improvement Scotland will result in a fair outcome. Local expectation has, of course, been influenced by the visit of the First Minister during Holyrood elections in May 2021, when the Press and Journal reported that she said, "I'm determined Inch War Memorial Hospital will reopen." That's another time, another circumstance, and another individual, which is no longer directly relevant, but it helps understand why our people don't trust anything that's said about Inch Hospital. However, we want to keep talking, and I'm here on behalf of the community because we believe there could be a mutually acceptable outcome if the consultation is evidence-based, meaningful, and fair. And we're confident that the wider IJB membership will ensure this is the case. Thank you, and I will be happy to take questions.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for the timing. That's excellent. Thank you very much. Members, do you have any questions for Mr. Musgrave, please? I don't see any indications. I'm based on something that you said about the paper in June that came to the board, and you said that the chief officer had said that the due process wasn't followed. I'm going to ask Mrs. Jolly, please, to comment on that particular comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I recall from the paper that was presented previously was that I acknowledged that this had taken an awful long time and there was an awful lot of anxiety and strong feelings around it, and the length of time it had taken probably hadn't helped the cause in terms of trying to reach a solution. I am 100% sure that at no point did I say we didn't follow process, but what I did acknowledge was that it had taken a long time and that was unhelpful, and apologised for that at the time.
That's fine. Thank you. It's just to get that balance. That's fine. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I will give you one more call for any questions, please, for Mr. Musgrave. I don't have any indication. So thank you very much indeed for taking the time. Oh. Councillor Grant, Murray, please.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Mr. Musgrave. While the engagement's ongoing, I'm just wondering if you could maybe feedback if there's any overall views that you've been able to gather through the community. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks. This is an item on the Chief Officer's update with Community Council being represented to give us an idea of their involvement and proactive approach to engagement. That was the request that came forward. I'm not taking any questions. I already stopped Mr. Musgrave previously when we were delving into information that will come back. So thank you for that. You have another opportunity in September to ask the question. Okay, so thank you for that. Any other final questions? If not, we'll move. And so thank you very much again for taking the time both to come in today. And I would just ask you now if you'd mind just popping back to your seat.
Thank you.
So thank you very much indeed for your time. Okay, thank you very much indeed. And that concludes item 5. We'll move then to item 6, where we have the IGB budget update, and we're being recommended to consider and discuss the financial position based on the year-to-date budget and year-to-date actuals as at the 31st of May 2026. And that is set out in the table at paragraph 4.3 and in Appendix 1. And we're also asked to note that it's too early in the financial year for any reliable forecast outturn, and that continued close monitoring will focus on the key financial risks which has been set out in the report. And I would invite our Interim Chief Finance and Business Officer, Gillian Milne, to introduce the paper, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, board members. I'm pleased to present this finance update for 26-27 as at the end of May, and I'll briefly draw out the key points for you. This is an early year-to-date position, so it should be treated with caution and not taken as an indication of the year-end position. At month 2, the partnership is reporting a favourable variance of 1.372 million against budget. This is a positive starting point, but the position may change as activity and commitments develop, and particularly as reserves are expected to be used during the year. The budget is phased monthly and reflects expected spend patterns and what we know about commitments and activity at this stage, rather than being divided equally across 12 months. Some variances may therefore reflect timing and profiling rather than underlying performance, and finance colleagues will continue to refine this. The detail set out in Appendix 1 shows a broadly favourable position across services, including council social care and NHS core services, which is offset by some smaller pressures elsewhere. There are apparent pressures in areas such as out-of-area placements and older people's residential care. At this stage, it is too early to say whether these are sustained pressures, but they are areas we are keeping a close eye on. For now, they are offset by favourable variances elsewhere. On unscheduled care funding, Appendix 1 compares actual expenditure to budget and does not yet reflect the planned use of earmarked reserves for 25-26. Once applied through forecast reporting, those reserves are expected to offset most, if not all, of that apparent pressure. This does not mean the overall underspend will simply increase. The forecast will show the underlying position separately from the planned use of reserves. Looking ahead, the underlying financial environment remains challenging. The key risk continues to be the gap between demand and available funding, alongside pressures in some areas. In summary, but early position, the focus remains on financial grip, active monitoring of risk, and delivery of the agreed savings programme. We will bring back a further report developed with funding partners on shared risk appetite, reserves, and financial risk, and the actions needed to support longer-term sustainability. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Gillian, for your presentation and for the paper before us. I've got Angie, please. Angie Much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a question, but just a statement to make. It is quite incredible, the turnaround in the financial situation of the last 2 years especially, and I just want to formally commend the actions of Lee and the whole of the finance team in this extraordinary turnaround. I know there's been very difficult decisions had to be made, but actually from where we were 2 years ago, this is quite extraordinary. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Angie, and I think certainly the board would concur with that. So that's really appreciated, your acknowledgement of that. Thank you. Councillor Keating, David, please.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to specifically concur with Angie there, and actually acknowledge as well that the whole leadership team, I think, for what's been done. Much as I believe finance are very important, I think we have to acknowledge the other leaders had something to do with it. And I'm really going to be quite positive about this, because I think, Gillian, you managed to knock in the head just about every question I could think of. Okay, we're going into the year with small reserves. That's better than the last 2 years when we had none. So I'm a great fan of reserves. So I think that's a really good outcome. I am impressed that you phased the budget monthly. That's about the best level you can do it at. And that is, again, a sign of real focus on what it is you're looking to manage. And you actually identified the 2 spend areas, out of area and older people residential care, which are the furthest overspent as a percentage. So I completely agree with your general point that it's too early to take anything for granted and that the phasing may just have been slightly adrift. All of those are true. But I have to say, in my experience, if something's 15% overspent after 2 months, I would want to have a look at it. But you are having a look at it, so that's fine too. Well done, Gillian and Lee and the team.
Well, thank you. I think it's something we can note that Councillor Keating has been silenced. And his questions were all addressed. So, no, but thank you for that, David. And again, we would all concur, and I would have picked it up later, but you've done it already, that it's all budget holders and the leadership across the teams. But every budget holder has contributed to this turnaround. So it really is it has been remarkable, as Angie has said. So thank you very much, David. Councillor Grant, Murray, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and just let me add my congratulations as well for the turnaround. Well done, all involved. I appreciate what you're saying, Gillian, about it being too early in the year to derive a reliable forecast. My simple question is just at what point during the financial year will we be able to sort of ascertain a more reliable trajectory for a year-end outcome? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. I think we'll come back to in September with the end of Q3, and at that point we'll be projecting forecasting to year end and some more detail on the variances at that point and what we might do to address them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Tomlinson, please. John.
Yeah, thank you very much. And again, thank you for all the work that's gone into this. I think just for us, it's then highlighting how the grip and control, the stability that this provides is then a platform for looking at the pressures and the unmet need that's in the system. And so that we're clear about that. And then the sustainability piece, the redesign. So there's a lot of work going forward to sustain this or keep the stability, but then to look towards sustainability. And so not to dampen the sort of feedback on this, but just to recognise that we need to support the officers in that hard work that's going to be done over the next couple of years. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Dr. Tomlinson. Any other questions or comments, please? No, so we go back to recommendations, and I have referred to them. So can we approve the recommendations, please? And in doing so, again, acknowledge the risks that have been set out within the paper. But I think that if we're approving the recommendations, we would be assured that everything is being monitored as set out, and that we are very happy to support the direction of travel. But again, thanks to everyone for your efforts in getting us into this position and for the plan ahead being implemented. So thank you very much indeed. So we agree, please. We agree. Thank you very much indeed. That takes us then to item 7. And item 7 is the IGB recovery plan. You will recall we had a paper to our last meeting making recommendations that we would stand that recovery plan down, but we had to refer to our funding partners. And the recommendations here are to note that the IGB has recommended and the NHS Grampian have agreed that position. And I'll ask officers to give an update on the Aberdeenshire Council meeting on the 25th of June. And we're being asked to agree that ongoing financial performance and risk should continue to be managed through routine governance arrangements, regular reporting to the IGB and funding partners, and escalation where required. Gillian, please.
Thank you, Chair. This report follows on really from the last one in terms of the financial stability. So I'm pleased to introduce this report on the recovery plan, which asks the board to note the position regarding the proposal to stand the plan down and to agree that financial performance and risk will now continue to be managed through routine governance arrangements. As you will recall, the recovery plan was introduced at a point where the scale of financial pressure and governance risk meant that normal arrangements were not sufficient on their own, and a more structured and time-limited approach was required to restore financial grip and control. Over the past year, that approach has delivered a clear strengthening of financial management, oversight and forecasting, alongside a materially improved financial position. On that basis, and taking into account the views of the funding partners, the assessment is that the circumstances which required exceptional escalation are no longer in place, and that these risks can now be managed through strengthened business-as-usual governance arrangements. Both funding partners have now considered the position. NHS Grampian considered the matter through its executive team and agreed that the recovery plan can be stood down. Aberdeenshire Council considered the matter through full council last week and supported the conclusion of the plan and the return to normal governance. This means both partners have reviewed the evidence, including the improved financial position and strengthened oversight arrangements, before the matter returns to the IJB today for final consideration. It is important to emphasise that standing down the recovery plan does not reduce financial discipline, oversight or accountability. Rather, it reflects that the arrangements introduced through the plan are now embedded and can be managed through routine reporting, monitoring and escalation. If issues are identified in future, these will continue to be managed in line with the integration scheme, starting with local corrective action and management intervention and escalating further only when the scale of risk requires it. So the key point is that this is a measured and evidence-based transition back to normal governance with the same focus on grip, control and transparency, but without the need for exceptional recovery arrangements. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Gillian, for that. And can I invite members to ask any questions or make any comments, please? Councillor Cassie. Ross, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Gillian. You took away my first line. It does follow on from the last paper, and I am very assured compared to where we were, as was mentioned in the previous paper, that we do now have the grip and control financially in place. That wasn't there. That led to the requirement of the recovery plan to be put in place in the first place. So I'm very content that the recommendations are agreed.
Thank you very much indeed, Ross, for that input. Can I ask if anyone else has any comments? Or are we all agreed that the recommendations can be supported? And that is agreed. And again, I think it's worthwhile noting the work that has gone into making sure that recovery plan delivered. And as Ross has said, certainly followed on in terms of the financial update that we've just had as well. So I would like to acknowledge all the work, and it has been very hard. Very hard decisions have been taken, and it has not been an easy process, but I just want to acknowledge all the work that has gone into implementing the recovery plan and getting us to the very positive position that we are now. I don't underestimate the challenges that have been addressed, but also the challenges to come. So again, thanks to you all for all the work that's been done. It's appreciated. Thank you. We'll move then to item 8 on the agenda, and that's the review of the integration scheme. And it would be my intention to break for 10 minutes following this item. So I would ask Mrs. Cowie, please, if you'd introduce the paper. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chair. The report before members today brings forward a small number of amendments to the integration scheme, which are required to reflect recent legislative change. In particular, the change ensures that the scheme reflects the introduction of voting rights for service user, carer and third sector representatives on the IJB. It's largely a consequential amendment due to the legislation changes to ensure that our governance documents remain compliant with that statutory framework. There's no wider policy proposals. So subject to the board's agreement today, the revised integration scheme would go to both Aberdeenshire Council and NHS Grampian for approval in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Any questions on the paper, please? Councillor Keating. David, please.
Thank you. And I couldn't find my computer hand there. So just a couple, Lauren. I think The first one is on the 4.5, referring to the 3.2 in the document, our integration scheme. Is the legislation not clear on how many other voting members, or are we actually saying it's a decision left with the IJB? It's the first question. And the second one is, as well as the IJB having voting members, are we having to review the composition of the two subcommittees, the audit and the CASWAG, or do they just fall because they've already got what are currently non-voting members on them? So I just wonder how that'd be treated. Thank you.
Chair, if it's all right if I come back. The legislation provides voting rights for categories of memberships. It's then up to the IJB to determine how many of each category. Therefore, when we come back with a report in September, we'll bring back a membership update report so that the IJB can have a look at that at the same time, as well as having a look at the IJB handbook with the governance arrangements. As part of that is the Clinical and Adult Social Work Governance Committee terms of reference, as well as the Audit Committee terms of reference. So the quorums for all of that will be part of work that I'll be undertaking over the summer.
And will that be in conjunction with the chairs of the subcommittees?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. So thank you for that. Angie, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have to confess from a personal view that I welcome the opportunity to have voting rights within the IJB. I've been a member of the IJB for 9 years now, and I have to say that I see this as a further way to contribute positively to the role of the IJB. I know there's been some concerns in the past that people with voting rights would vote perhaps with their heart rather with their head. I don't think actually we need to worry about that, about our public and service user reps. I think we're genuinely on the IJB for the right reasons. And I just want to reassure people that when we get these voting rights, it is to further the positive work of the IJB. Thank you, Chair.
Now, again, I think that's really positive comment, Angie, and always welcome your perspective. So I think that's really helpful to be clear. And as I say, I certainly don't have any issues at all and don't have any concerns at all. And our officers will support everyone we'll all need to get on the same page, actually. But there will be support for members of the IJB, all members, as we go through this process. So absolutely. And I look forward to that further development. So thank you for that. Yeah. Sue, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Angie. You took a few things that I was going to say. I have been on this organisation since it was the community health and then interim and now the full. So, and I'm really pleased to see that it has developed into an acknowledgement that we're not just here as extra voices. You know, there's training offered and there's help and things like that. My slight difference is that I do feel, and I've spoken about this before, that as a third sector representative, I have, I think, a very good knowledge of the third sector, but not in a way that I think something like AVA, which is the third sector, the third leg, if you like, of the health service social work. And I think seriously that there should be somebody from there who could give you the broad perspective that you have, the officers here have, because that's, where you are working. So that I think from that point of view, I think that might be something that could be discussed at future times, maybe to think about. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you very much indeed for that intervention as well, Sue. Again, that's very welcome. Lauren, would you want to pick that up at all?
Yes, absolutely. That's something that's been discussed by the IJB in the past, and it's something that will be taken forward. So for a reference to membership review report that will come back, that's something that we consider as part of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other indications, please, if anyone wishes to come in? I don't see any, so can we go to the recommendation then, please? That we note the amendments to the scheme which are required to implement the legislative changes to the voting membership, which will come into effect on the 1st of September 2026, and that both NHS Grampian and Aberdeenshire Council will be asked to approve the changes at some point to the integration scheme. Can we agree, please? Agreed, that's fine. Thank you very much indeed. Now I'm going to stop there for a break. It's 11:06. So if we'll come back at 11:20. I think that's gives you a little bit longer. So if we can break now and resume at 11:20, please. Thank you very much.